Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome, people. And here we go with another previous P9 I've repaired. Long story short is that I was not able to hone in the focus quite well on this camera. And even though the gearbox was renewed with the little drives and little gearing, you can see what I'm doing here. It was almost, and it was chunking as the drive was coming in. It started to do, and it would still work, and then it would just feel a bit rough and as if something was knocking. And so I had, when I was out filming the moon last night on my other P9, I was trying to take a few snapshots of the moon and focus in on the infrared, which is this one is. And again, I couldn't really seem to get the thing to focus properly, and it was really frustrating. So whilst I was filming, I was trying to mess about with this one, and it's fully functional. But again, with the zoom, she would just be out. And I'll give you a few examples of what I mean, because when I recorded, took a few snapshots a while ago, you can see this fella here. She's not fully extended, but it looks as if it's a soft focus, but just never really sharp image. And when you click that button, you think you can see it in the viewfinder or on the screen. I tend to use the viewfinder if I'm doing close-ups, and it was almost as if it was out of focus, and it was really frustrating. So I thought, I'm gonna have a look at this, and unfortunately what I found was quite devastating. Now, inside the gearbox, if I can find it now, he says. How did I do with that? It should be here somewhere. Yeah. Oh, there it is there. Now, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this, but inside, here's one I repaired. I stripped down earlier. Now, inside the gearbox mechanism, which is this fella here, you might be able to see if it focuses in nice. Come on. I'll tell you what I'll do is I've got the other controls up now, so I'll be able to focus this in. Let's go for manual focus. See if I get that up there. Now, can you see the middle post? The middle post. So that transfers the drive. Let's make sure I got this right. That transfers the drive from here to there, and then to there, which then goes to this gear here and drives the mechanism. And it's all a little bit functional, and and as you can see, this one has everything intact except it doesn't have the gearing in place. Now, that's just to give you the idea. Now, what happened on this one? Well, let me put the focus back. Pay attention, CG. Now, what you find on this one is that the actual post itself, that middle post, had broken off, and so the middle drive wheel was actually free to do this, and so it was going between the extent that it could travel inside the gearbox. Even though it was coming in and out when it would initialize, the drive mechanism was still able to drive it, but that last bit of focus that it wanted, it was settling out. And so where it thought it had driven the motor to actually get the focus, once you take that shot, it wasn't in. And like a true so this pin, or this shaft, let's get that focus in. I mean, it seems like it seems like it's game over, really. There you are, you see, there's the shaft. Let's get it in. Come on, there, it's broken. Yes, it was broken. Now, there's no point gluing this back in because the stresses involved. I mean, you've only got a small little end piece to try and hook in there. It's a waste of time, really. So what I thought about doing was swapping the whole mechanism over for this one, which meant stripping out all the innards again. And I thought, well, do I really want to do that? Because I really don't know if the cabling here is good. It's been ripped out of an old. I've got my little magnets on there. I don't really want that. It's been ripped out of an older one. So I thought, well, do I take the risk of putting this one in, because this one still has the center post on. So I don't really want to. I want to keep this as a whole complete spare. Now, do I have the capability to do something with this one? Now, let me show you. Now, I had to use every sort of nuance of my ability to try and think of how I'm going to do this. So I need to get this gear back in situ without it actually wobbling around, which is driven from this one, which sits on the silver post, which then transfers to the end drive wheel, which in turn goes into the gearing mechanism inside here. Now, if you care to look, I think they've had a bit of a design issue with this again. So what they did actually do, Nikon again, my favorite people, if you care to look on the back side of this, what you will see is, how can I do this? Let's go to there. What you'll see, this is the back of the gearbox here. I'm going to try and get my, let's have a look. And what they've done here is for the, let's make sure I get the right one. So the white drive gear has a hole in it there. I'll make sure I get this. It has a hole in it there. Let me try and get this into focus some way. It's not very practical. I need a trusty assistant, I think. Right, you can see there's a hole for the main. You can just see that flashing with my hand going past it. Now the cutout there, this cutout, or the little bit that's sticking out there, this bit here, that bit there, that is for this pin here, silver pin. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, let's get down the right way. This pin here, there's the silver pin there, so you can see but where the post is supposed to be. So you've got the two posts there. Let's get this right way. So you've got the two posts. There's the post that's broken off there. But if you look on the back of that, there's actually an insert where it looks like they've decided not to go all the way through and pin it. You see that recess there is part for the shaft for the center gearing. So they could have easily have pinned that, but they didn't. And so with the mechanical problems with this, with the gearing that broke, it actually weakened the shaft that holds that center gear, and it eventually ended up with all the drive mechanism breaking off. So game over. There's it. So what I thought I'd do, now I have the tools. So what I did is I measured on this one. With a little basically a ruler, this one here, and I worked out that the center shafts between the pin and the center gearing shaft was about 7 millimeters, center to center or edge to edge, right? 7 millimeters. So I measured it slightly, and I wasn't a million miles off. So I used my trusty little screwdriver. But first of all, what I did do was, just to err on the side of caution, is I actually created a little pilot drill with a very, very fine drill, and then I drilled this out with this. And then what I did is I actually inset another shaft, like so. So if I bring this up here, I inset another shaft in there, as you can see. Now you're saying, well, that's all well and good, isn't it? 7 mil. Take my word for it. Let's just see if I can measure that. It's not going to be easy. How can I do it? I don't know what happens. I won't bother. It's 7 mil, give or take a half a mil or so. But the only problem is that the shaft size and the internal diameter of this is too big. So when I pop that on there, if I can, he says, if I pop that on there, actually that's let's get that one there. Where's the other fella? If I pop that on there, it's going to be too big, so it does tend to see. If you can see that, it's not center of the hole. You can probably see that now, right? It's not center of the hole. So what'll happen is that when she's driving, she'll have the ability to also wiggle. So I don't need that. So what I need to do, oops, there she goes. I'll just pick that up in a minute. what I need to do is I need to. Where's it gone? Let's get that one there. It's not a million miles away. Right, so I've got them both here. So what I need to do is I need to pack this little shaft out here with some. I have some special Teflon tape which I shall wrap around. Now I'm not going to do that on camera because it's going to be laborious. But just to let you know that the hole I drilled is just slightly smaller than the shaft size of this, which I actually, incidentally, I didn't mention, was I took out of here. I took that shaft out, which sits inside the white drive gear, and or the clear drive gear, whatever you like. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack this one out so she sits snugly in there, and make sure she'll rotate, and then I'll have to put everything back together again, and hopefully she'll zoom smoothly, and then the final zoom on the camera should be okay. Always something with these, isn't there? You know, so this whole Gearbox thing isn't so robust. They should have pinned that drive, because the force of this one that when it actually broken has not actually broken this one, but the force that actually come through and weakened this standoff inside the Gearbox. It would have been nice for them to have pinned it, but they didn't, and so there we are. But so I shall leave it there, and I shall get back to you when everything's done. So I shall get back a bit later. Thank you. Right, so I've just unpaused this. I've been, as things have moved about, as you can see. So currently at the moment, it's all back together again, and I've put a little bit of grease inside here. This special grease here is called Kluber lubrication. It's sort of like vacuum grease, which is non-hydroscopic. It doesn't attract water to it, it keeps it out. So that should be okay. So what I've done is the Teflon tape was a bit fiddly to get in, so really difficult. So what I did was I actually stripped off a bit of cable, and I actually used a bit of insulation here, and then what I did is I actually managed to core out the centerpiece with my finger drill to actually get it to sit inside onto the shaft, and then it was pretty much bang on the diameter. The outer diameter of that equaled the just about the inner diameter of the gear. Now it's all in there, and like I say, I did put a bit of grease in there just to aid the transition, and I'm just going to actually get rid of the excess so we can see if perhaps what it may look like, and get rid of some more. So it's sitting in situ now. You can see the pin there, and everything's connected. You can see there's the let's get this right here. Oops, let's get that there. So that's the worm gear for the motor, which goes onto that one, which then transfers to that, which transfers to the center one, which goes to there, and then to this. And you might be able to see that everything is there, sort of interlocking nicely. So now my only other problem I have now is on the back plate of the Gearbox cover, there are 3 standoff points. So there's two actually, and one recess. And the recess there is for the main the big drive, and as you can see, can you see on that here? You've got 2 other recesses. Well, the center one, which is for the one I've just repaired, usually there's a little pin which will sit inside it, but because that post is broken and I've pinned it, I'm hoping that the other 2, which are clamped in position by the recesses on here, will actually hold that central anyway. So I'm going to have to just give it a go, and it sits back on top quite nicely. So I'm going to bolt that down, and I'm going to put everything back together again, and I'm going to run it up probably without the screen, but I'll see what it says in the viewfinder. And yeah, so we have the technology, people. Well, it's only a simple mechanical fix, but this would otherwise render the camera useless. A lot of work to get this out. I don't want to have to go through that again. And these cables, which actually come out on the side here, are very susceptible to breaking. I've had one break before, hence this is why I have this as spare. And yeah, it's I've used one camera as a donor for all these other bits and pieces. And I have a somewhere here in my drawer of bits, I have a lovely spare. Yeah, I have a lovely. I took off a lovely spare p900 screen. If anybody needs one, free to a good home. If you know of anybody that needs one, it'd be my pleasure, to be honest. And yeah, or I could put it back into the. Well, it's a bit difficult because you have to strip this down to actually get it off of the cable which sits in here. So basically, I'm digressing now a little bit, but to get this off, you have to take this plate off here, and then there's two little screws either side there. You have to prise this thing apart, and then you have to unwind all this cable into here, through there, and there's two screws to get out under here, which are very, very difficult to get at. So, but it's doable, not for the faint-hearted, I must say, but it is doable. And again, hats off to Nikon for making it so difficult. So anyway, with that, I shall put this back together again, and I've got my blue nose on, so I didn't realise. Anyway, put them together, and I'll come back online once it's all working again, which I'm adamant it will. All right, see you later. Okay, probably you didn't hear me, but I had to put the lens back on, the back back on, because it was asking for the date and time, and it's clicking somewhat. So if I try and bring this on, you might be able to hear it. So she will zoom out. Doesn't sound too bad, but listen to this. So that sounds rough as rats, but she's still working. And then if I drive it out, it's not going doing 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 doing, but then coming back in again. Oh, is that a lens error? No, it's not. It's not. It's stopped. Is it the battery? No, might have been me. Let's have a look. So it's stuck. I can't really see what that's saying. It's not saying anything there. So I think she just hung up. It might be because I've got this loose. I'm not sure. Let's try and reset it then. Oh dear. I've got the pink screen of death. Let's have a look. See what happens. Nope. I think I've lost something there. So still needs a bit of work. I'll get back to it when I've got in a more working order. Oh, CJ, twat. Okay, so I have to voice this over now because I didn't realise I had my microphone off. So basically what I'm saying here is that the cover, the recess, needed to be have the shaft put into it. So I had to create and extend the inner bush and create another bush so it would actually sit inside the retainer on the gearbox lid. And because the inner bush now was fatter than the original pin that sat in that recess, I had to sort of hand machine out that recess to enable the inner blue bush, which you might be able to see on the camera. And I used a very fine Dremel tool, which I probably switch on now. You can't hear it because my microphone's off, I think. But yeah, I'm just saying, oh, it's a very splendid tool, this. And I'm so glad I didn't upload this video without checking first. But yeah, it's got many attachments that you can put onto that, and I use it for all sorts of things, like force builds and what have you, and some reworking. So I'm just explaining how I pushed out the that pin through the gear, and then modified the lid so that it would sit snugly and hold that center gear in situ along with the others to try and stop that clicking effect when it actually withdrew the lens mechanism. And as you can see, I've just put it on, tapped it down again. I'm probably going to stop the video here again, explain as I'll put everything back together again. And yeah, I've said I have had the battery out all that time whilst I was messing about with it. And yeah, I'm just about ready to get it all back together again. So am I going to click it off? I'm waffling on again about the susceptibility of those cables, which is why I tried to test it with it off. But if it's going to ask for the date and time again, I'm going to have to put it on. So I'll just make sure I'm off. And that's a shame because my audio is still off. And I've explained that yeah, it's all back together again, and you're probably not going to hear it switch on and off, but she stopped the clicking, and I might just realize that I've got my microphone off. I haven't realized yet, but she's not clicking, and I'm explaining that when you switch it off, it's not clicking anymore. So that's unfortunate, but my microphone was off. Oh dear. But yeah, after all that effort, I'm not sure why the microphone was off because it's no, because my microphone is there, but she wasn't working. There you go. So put it all back together again. Hopefully the next outtake I'll actually come back on the video. It's all bolted down, and that bush is secure. She doesn't sound ideal, but she's not clicking as bad, and she's usable. I'm just saying I probably won't sell this on for cost. I'll probably just keep this one now, and if I get another couple of P9s in the future, this would be apt for being used as a donor. I'm just saying, the shaft there, I consider myself to be well and truly shafted, or it was shafted. So yeah, next edit. And it looks as if my microphone is still not working, so I'll talk through this again. I've put the cover back on and it's all working fine, but I've not put this excuse me, I've not put the screws back in. And yeah, but I did find another problem with there was 4 modes on the dial that wasn't working. So turn it on. She drives quite nicely, and then coming back in again, she doesn't click anymore. Slightly a bit sluggish, would you say? Speeds up a bit, but she does home nicely now without the clicking. There you are. See, I can hear myself talking, but it's not actually coming onto the computer. So that's a shame. So the drive mechanism is a lot better. And yeah, it's been through the mill, this camera. So now I'm going to show the issue I found with the dial mode. So as you can see on the screen, it's probably set to auto. Yeah, just standard camera function, and the screen just flips off there because of the detector on the viewfinder. Now what I'm saying is that if I turn it off and I switch it to scene, it comes up with an error that says mode dial is not in the correct position. And I turn it through all 5 functions until it sees the first mode selection, which is actually the soft setting, believe it or not, and then it kicks in. So it looks like I can't select the different scenes, such as moon, beach, portrait. So I show now this in scene mode, switch it on and off. The lens doesn't home because it comes up and it says mode dial is not in the proper position. It's almost as if it's in between. So thank you very much. And that stopped. Why is that stopped? No idea. But there you go.